Y'all, we live in difficult times. There's war, political unrest, the pandemic, poverty, families being torn, communities ripped by gun violence and people dying every day, police, injustice. It's all bringing so much pain. But y'all, we can look inside our minds and we can understand who we are, become better, and do this thing like we've never done it before. But it all starts with our mental health, and I know we can do it. I believe in you because I believe in me, and I believe in us. In order to make it work, you can't just do it every now and then. Now you have to try it, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to change your brain. You're trying to change the way you are programmed to deal with stress. So it takes practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can agree with that. It was some months back where we had gone walking through a very forested area. I think I've only done that maybe like once before, right? But this time, I mean, it was almost like to the point, like stay on the path, don't venture off because you might look up and be lost somewhere. But it was so fun. One, it was so peaceful. You know, to the point where we just sat down because they had benches out there. We just sat down and just embraced the moment. Like this, you can really just get lost in this moment of just being surrounded by nothing but these big, beautiful trees.
Gotcha. Exactly. And I think that's wonderful when we can do things like that. And we talk about meditation, taking out time to be in that space where we can just breathe and allow ourselves to be in the very moment, disconnected from everything, and just feel our bodies, feel connected to the earth or to the heavens, and just be there and let everything go. Giving ourselves space, being tolerant of our own experiences, giving ourselves grace.
Exactly.
And a place where we're not judging ourselves, and we can be in connection with our bodies. I think that's really, mindfulness is a really important component. You know, a lot of times, you know, I tell people, you know, take out some time each day. You got kids, you got family. Listen, take 15, 20 minutes, maybe before you get in the shower or after you got out in the shower. Get you a diffuser. Get that nice aroma going on.
Okay.
Some eucalyptus, some lavender, whatever you enjoy, and just allow yourself to be in that space. Stop. Don't think about anything that you have to do, and just allow yourself to be in that space and just soak it up. You know, because this can help you de-stress and let your worries of the day go. Because believe it or not, no matter what we talk about, no matter what our concerns are, they're going to keep coming, right?
Exactly.
And if we don't intentionally stop and say, I ain't doing this, we're going to constantly be in that state of worry and concern. So we have to be intentional about it. Your kids going to have their issues. Your job is going to be what it is. Your concerns are going to be your concerns. Those bills going to be there. Look, so you have to be intentional and allow your body some time to rejuvenate. And there's a lot of good information out there about meditation and relaxation techniques. I know that you are into soaps, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you believe soaps can help us and aromatherapy can help us?
Absolutely. So I am a soaper in the soap industry. That's what we label ourselves. And so what that actually means is one who creates handcrafted soaps. As we know, I mean, it's interesting. Soaps have been around for eons, as I think you say. You use that word, I think so. And so, but with more, you know, modern soapers, we have changed in a sense as far as like some of the things that we use to create it, as opposed to like me personally, as opposed to using like a pig fat and things of that sort. I'm very mindful about the oils, making sure they're more on the health conscious side of oils that's going into the process and creating these beautiful soaps that I make, as well as I make whipped shea butters. Got this start for my children as I began to understand they use a lot of things that's inside of skincare that's not good, that I don't approve. I always encourage people to pay attention to what you're putting on your skin, because it all goes inside your body. It goes inside your bloodstream. You got seconds before it's inside of your bloodstream. And so how that impacts the body, okay, when things that's not good, that you think, oh, well, this is just on the outside, just I'm going to lather this on myself, not realizing it's going straight into your bloodstream. And anything that's inside your body, how is it going to impact your body? How is it going to impact your thinking? How is it going to impact your lungs? How is it going to impact your kidneys? You get what I'm saying? These things matter. And so that was the reason why I began making natural skincare, because I was mindful about, that was my space of creating control over what me and my children use in our household. It was our start of putting more healthier things in place. Because like I said, I was concerned about how it's impacting their body. And there's even books and things that talk about this. Once skincare, this stuff that we use in our skin, once it gets inside the blood, what it does. Okay, how it impacts the body when it gets down into your connective tissues. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah, it gets real deep. It's bigger than just soap and lotions. People think it's just, I'm like, your skin is your largest organ. So this is an organ too. If you think about, people often think about, oh, well, I got to eat right to, make sure my liver is functioning right. Well, you got to use the right things in your skin to make sure that this organ is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and that is not, that you're not doing things that's damaging all the organs in the inside too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's so important.
Yeah. So when you talk about the aromatherapy part, and you talk about, so a lot of my, well, I ain't gonna say a lot, but some of the different things I make, they do have the essential oils in them. But what I do is so tied into self-care. It's so tied into how are you taking care of you? Because like I said, it comes from a health place of how are you taking care of your body, and it does play a role in your mindset. A lot of my customers that come to me is interesting because they are more on the health conscious side of things. And I think that when you're more health conscious, you're not willing to eat anything. You're just not willing to do anything. Right. And so like when I use my soaps, when it ties into skincare, I feel better. Like my skin feels amazing. And sometimes I joke and kid, and I'm like, by the time I use all this natural stuff and my skin feel good, you can't treat me any type of way. Exactly. Come over here and just be saying any type of thing, because I'm putting effort into me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and it makes you feel better about who you are as a person. It makes you feel good about you. You imagine, like, you're outside. A lot of times we show up, how we feel about ourselves. And so by the time you take that effort into going certain lengths to take care, of your skin, especially, your bathing and showering process. And, like I'm intentional even about certain type of wash rags I use. It has an impact on all of this, because it causes me to carry myself a certain type of way. Because I think about all that type of stuff. And so, it plays a role in your thinking, because you feel better. I could respond better. I show up better. When I show up better, that influences how people treat you and influences how they begin to feel. I have been around people where they're like, because of how I show up, especially when they know we're about to get together, they're like, girl, I put on certain stuff because I know you coming. And and I know when you come, you going to show up, so I'm going to show up a certain way too. Exactly. That's powerful.
Yeah, that is powerful.
Because that means that you have the ability to shift the atmosphere.
Yeah, you have influence. Yes.
Did you hear that?
Yes, you have influence.
So you imagine if there's more of those type of people in the community who's creating great influence, that's having an impact on the community and how people feel, how they show up. If that can flow throughout the community where people are now doing better, because they're feeling better about who they are. They're using better skincare products. They're eating better foods. And so now we have great impact in the community.
Yeah, we're taking better care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Listen, I always believe if you want to slow a people down, you first control their food. If their food ain't good, then the things they need to take care of themselves, you control that.
Yeah.
Because those two things, man, they are so powerful in our overall well-being. You know, and as a therapist, you know, when we talk about like coping, you know, I don't want coping to be this thing where we just cope to survive.
Yeah.
I want us to use coping strategies for periods of time so we can actually solve problems. So those things that we were coping about before are no longer issues in the future. Because I could cope my whole life, and there's some things that we might have to cope with our whole lives. But if we can change our attitudes, if we can change our beliefs, if we can change our behaviors in a way that we can actually solve problems, then guess what? We can move on to something else. So these kind of things are awesome because they help us feel better about ourselves and they motivate us to do better.
Yep.
Then we can change things.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, you imagine like when people's, how you are when you feel like that you are qualified. You know, you carry yourself different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a certain level of authority when you know, like, okay, you know what, this is what I do.
Exactly. You feel better about yourself. And you know what? With that being said, you know, I'm kind of like moving on in another part of this discussion. I think it's critical for us to understand that when we feel better about ourselves, we have better self-awareness.
Yep.
And we're not as triggered by things around us. And now, and I guess you might ask the question, what are triggers? You know, and we think about triggers, we think of anxiety triggers, we think of post-traumatic stress triggers, we think of anger triggers. All triggers occur or are the result, for the most part, of experiences that we've had where in some place where we've been made to feel uncomfortable. Like, I had a whole lot of social anxiety about being up in front of people and talking. Well, I remember being in school at a young age and having to get up and do presentations. And while I was doing it, people was laughing and joking and kidding, right? And so it made me uncomfortable. So every time I had to get up, you know, I would always have this feeling like, oh, wow, like, okay, you know, I'm not going to be good at this. I'm going to be funny or something like that, and people are not going to take me serious. So it would make me nervous. So I had to reframe my own thinking about that, so I wouldn't be triggered around those things. So it's about changing my mind and understand that I'm worthy and deserving in these spaces, so I can communicate, not just to communicate, but I can communicate to my abilities. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah,
I can communicate.
Absolutely.
And so when people have been traumatized, you know, oftentimes they'll see things, they'll be triggered by things, and developing the mindset and the awareness of what cues you or triggers you, and then being able to manage it or speak to yourself when you see those things in ways that you don't have to have symptoms or become stressed out when you see things that may appear to be traumatizing or remind you of those past experiences. So we have to be aware of those things. Then we have to learn how to teach ourselves how to walk through those things without feeling that sense of fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if there are real dangers, we need to be able to identify those things and move on. And of course, anger, you know, the anger triggers, we have to, again, be able to identify those things, what these things are, and maybe change our minds about those things. You know, somebody might have a trigger about being in traffic, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, and it being backed up. And so what do I say to myself? You know, this is out of my control. You know, the best I can do is try to get there when I can get there. Exactly. You know, I can be mad about it, or I can understand. Or when people do things that just doesn't make sense to us, you know, have to realize people are going through their own things. Yep. And they may have, you know, they may have problems. One of the things I used to hear a lot is people say, you know, this person walked by me, I spoke to them, and they didn't really speak. And people get upset about that, but you don't know what that person is going through. You don't know what they're feeling right then and there. But you know how you feel. Yeah. But understanding this person might be going through something that doesn't make them available to give you what you need right then and there, and that's okay. Right? Yeah. So now I'm not triggered by them anymore because I accept the fact. You know, I think triggers, we have to be very self-aware what our triggers are. And sometimes we have to be able to communicate that to people. Yeah. And it's okay to tell people, you know, that triggers me. The more intimate the relationship is, the more we have to be able to express to people, because we might make people feel uncomfortable when they think they're being nice and we're being triggered in some way, but we're not able to communicate what that is.
Absolutely.
You know, so, and if you don't feel safe communicating that, then I guess you need to ask yourself, why? Yeah. Why don't I feel safe communicating? Because I think it's important for us to be able to manage and deal with stress. We have to be aware of our emotions, allow ourselves to experience them, and also be able to tell others what's going on.
Exactly.
Because when we can do that, we make things better for us. What do you think about a support system?
Oh my God, I think a support system is essential. A support system where, you know, people who you can be transparent with, people who, you know, like that trust, you know, like these are the people who, you know, they're not talking about you. They don't look at you and think you're crazy, but yet they're willing to be honest with you. And so I keep a sound support system around me. And that is what helps me get through. You know, typically when I deal with stuff, I kind of have a channel of different people who I'll call and, you know, get their thoughts on what I'm dealing with. And even a lot of times before I respond, I want to know what's their thoughts to make sure I'm not tripping.
Right. You know, I think that when we look at support system, first of all, it's the most important piece in our long-term health and well-being. Yeah. We can talk all day about being an individual and individualism, but that's not who we are as a species. Yeah. We've always been people who needed each other in order to be our best selves. So I think it's critical that we have emotional support. Yep. And that doesn't mean that somebody always has an answer, but somebody there to hear and validate your feelings and emotions. I think second one, I think we need informational support. We need people in our lives who can give us information and guidance on how to do things. Yeah. We need that in our lives. And I think the third thing, we need instrumental people in our lives. People who will they ready to get down and get their hands dirty and beat the task. You know, we can have people in our lives that you know, that are not necessarily those three things. But I love what Les Brown said. He said, quality people only. Yeah. So we want people in our lives that we can be consistent and stable and can cultivate us, because we are trying to grow and we want to help foster and we want to see other people grow. You know, when we talk about the idea of love, we can't talk about it as just being some physical feeling that we have towards someone. No. Love is really, really founded in the idea that, you know, I can take care of myself. I can do for myself, right? On some level. But I also celebrate the idea of seeing someone else grow, seeing them become their best selves, seeing them get where they're trying to go in life. It's never just about me, because our sense of purpose comes from our connectiveness with other people. So if other people around me don't grow and get better, what am I?
Yeah, absolutely.
What am I? And so we have to be really down. I know sometimes when people have been traumatized and they've gone through a whole lot of things, it's difficult to embrace real supportive people. Because perhaps the people that told you they loved you was the people that hurt you.
Wow.
Think about it. Most of the time when people have been abused, physically, sexually, emotionally, it wasn't by a stranger.
Yeah.
It was by somebody they knew.
Yep.
So now we take that experience, and then even when people are trying to be supportive and loving, we are triggered because, well, this person said they love me, but look what they did.
Exactly.
This person used to beat the crap out of me. You get what I'm saying? Or used to tell me I ain't nothing. So now I'm supposed to be able to hear where you're coming from. But that's why it's important for us to really be, to look inside ourselves, examine ourselves, and understand and try to see who is really in front of us. But not only that, what type of friend am I?
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
What kind of friend am I? I heard somebody say this one day. They said that friendship is not a relationship of convenience.
Okay, I'm pondering on that.
You know, it's not a relationship of convenience. If you're going to be a friend, it can't always be when you want to be a friend. You have to be available sometimes when you don't want to be available for other people.
Repeat that one more time.
Friendship is not a relationship of convenience.
Okay, I like that, friendship.
You have to be available sometimes, even when you don't want to be available, because that's the mark of real friendship. That's the mark of real love, when you can be available to other people, even sometimes when you don't want to be.
When it's an inconvenience to you.
When it could be an inconvenience to you.
Yeah.
The idea of sacrifice. The idea of sacrifice, you know, for your friend. You know, sometimes I think in the world, one of our biggest problems is now we're so focused on ourselves because we are hurt that we don't realize that our answer is in actually helping others and being there for others and supporting others. Yeah. So we got so much, we're mad about what somebody else is going to get versus saying, well, let me help you get yours and you're going to help me get mine, and we all going to be good.
Exactly.
We all going to be good if we can figure out how to work together, but we can't figure out how to work together because we're so busy focusing on our own hurts, our own sorrows, our own pains, not resolving those things.
Absolutely.
So we stay stuck in those places. And, you know, and I think for many people, you know, we can probably benefit from working in therapy or working in groups and things to help us, you know, work through some of these things, some of our life challenges. Yep. So we can create realistic expectations for ourselves and other people. Realistic expectations. Yeah. I like to say, give yourself some grace, but also give others grace. Why? Because we all are individuals who have suffered some pain and sorrow at some point in time in our lives. And so we look at people and we have all these expectations about how they should be, how they should treat us and all this stuff like that. And when they don't do it, we get so madly upset and disappointed. But when we realize that humans are humans, and that means we are flawed, that we don't always see, we don't always understand. Sometimes we genuinely want to. Yeah. But we don't always have the capacity.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yep, that's the truth.
Yeah, so how often is there misunderstandings?
Yes, especially with things like text messaging and depending on how you're communicating. Because, like, you know, with that, because it's like with us being busy, you just figure, okay, I just shoot a message real quick. But a lot of times things are misunderstood, and then you look up and now somebody feels some type of way, or they're carrying something because it just was not, you know, they didn't understand, or it wasn't explained.
Right, exactly.
You know? Or like even like when you ask, like, you know, does that make sense? Like, you know, I too enjoy asking people, like, does that make sense to you? You know what I'm saying? So I could hear tell me what you're hearing me say. Because I found that a lot of times when people would tell me what they heard me say, I'm like, that's not what I said.
Oh, that's when, people. and so one of the things about communication, I think it's really important to understand, and it's hard to do this when you're emotional. Okay. But a lot of times clarifying what people say to you. Yeah. Being able to say, so are you saying this is that, or that is this? And then that person responding, no, that's this, that's that. And then you're responding. So an example might be, so if I said, Shalina, are you telling me you like you like to use Dial soap.
Okay.
And of course, you would tell me no, right?
Absolutely.
Not
at all.
Not at all, right?
Yeah.
So that's a simple example, because sometimes we so busy feeling the way we feel that we don't take time to hear what people are saying to us.
So when you say that, because you said that you said if they're not emotional, why? So do you think there would be a communication barrier if they're very emotional?
So typically what happens when we become more emotional, our flight or flight response gets triggered. And as a result, we feel like we might be in danger or threatened in some way. So our ability to hear people in a more objective way becomes more difficult because we feel like we're being personally attacked.
Oh, you need to teach a class. You need to teach the world.
We feel like we're being emotionally attacked. But when we can step back and hear people, maybe they don't mean what in the way I'm hearing it right now, because maybe people have said things to you. Maybe people have dealt with you in a certain way in the past. And now when somebody's speaking to you a certain way, you get triggered. And so this emotional memories come back, and now it's hard for you to hear what they're trying to say to you.
Wow, that's good.
It's hard for you to hear. So we have to step back sometimes and really listen. And sometimes, people do this good after the fact, right? They're getting a heated conversation. Their emotions start raging. We'll say all kind of things. But after the fact, they'll go and they'll think about it and be like, man, I shouldn't have said this or that. Or I think I understand what they were saying. Well, when they were emotional, they really couldn't hear each other. So I think it's important as human beings we're able to communicate with each other and understand that human beings are human and they have limitations. So we can create realistic expectations for people. And so we're not expecting people to be heroes, but we should be able to feel like we have support. Realize one of the biggest reasons why people end their lives is because they feel like they have to be strong. And oftentimes these people feel isolated. And after a while, because they feel like they don't have anybody they can go to, they give up.
Wow.
They give up. And so that's why, we have to try to be a non-judgmental listening ear so we can help people get through these difficult times. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we do that. We could just keep talking and keep talking about this. Listen, I want to thank you, Shalina, for coming in and spending time talking with me, and everything. And I just want to emphasize the importance of, having gratitude, seeing your blessings, the importance of sleeping and eating and exercising, the importance of taking time to get outside and get in the forested areas, trying things like meditation and aromatherapy, developing a good support system. I think is critical to our overall well-being, and having realistic expectations for people, understanding your triggers, and learning how to reframe them so you can do a better job with managing them and being able to communicate to people what your triggers are. It's okay. And of course, I can't emphasize this enough. Whatever your spiritual beliefs and stuff are, tap into that, because it's important. It's an important source of hope, and it helps us move through very difficult times, and we need that. In therapy, we teach people there to tap into your spiritual selves, because it's an important piece of who you are, regardless of your creed or denomination. Definitely do that. Miss Selena, you got anything you would like to add?
You know what? You really said it. I'm on board with the whole, your eating, your lifestyle, habits and choices, what you're using on your skin, for natural skincare. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Tell a little bit more about your company.
Contact me at Diary of Queen Esther.com. But those things really do matter, because all of those things play a role in how you perceive you, how you show up in the world, how you think, how you carry yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. Sounds good. Thank you, Shalina. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Therapy is Life. And I hope you will find inspiration and something that you can use to help make your day a little bit easier. Talk to you soon.